Welcome to another episode of Your Extraordinary Growth. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ken Cheo, the president and owner of Our Sales Coach. Ken works with executives, managers, and select salespeople with guaranteed results for top-line sales growth. Prior to creating the Our Sales Coach brand, Ken enjoyed over 20 years of sales and sales management experience. He has participated in speaking engagements and seminars on a variety of sales and marketing related subjects. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Great. Thanks to be here.
That's awesome. Now you're calling in today from Boston, you said, right?
I am. Yeah.
Now is it so we're recording this at the end of the summer-ish, I guess. And it is boiling hot here in Springfield, Illinois. I'm sure it's got to be a little cooler over there.
It is. It's pretty nice.
Nice. That's awesome. So you own a sales coach company. How long you been in business?
Yeah, we're really trainers.
Trainers.
We do training and coaching. So we deal with salespeople because a lot of people don't want to, and so we take that on. Yeah,
that is awesome. And how long you been in business?
For close to 18 years.
Oh my goodness gracious! So that is like 2004. 2005.
Yeah, 2005. Exactly.
2005.
Yeah.
So now, all right. So what got you into what spurred the entrepreneurial bug to go into business for yourself?
Yeah, good question. Well, so I was working for a company and we were being acquired, and those things take time. It was like an $80 million company, and at the time I was a single parent, and so I was commuting about an hour and a half each way when I went into the office. And, I just decided I didn't want to get a job if I needed to. I was going to start a business, buy a business really. And so I was out looking for a business to acquire. And, I was talking to franchise brokers. I was talking to a lot of different people. And the only thing that really made sense to me was to leverage my skills in sales and help other people. And so I bought a sales training franchise. That's what I ended up doing, and worked that for 7 years. And then I started the Our Sales Coach brand.
Gotcha. And so it's very interesting. You started with a franchise in the field that you're still doing business in. And after 7 years, which I'm sure was your first contract end of those, what made you decide to move away from the structure of the franchise?
Yeah, that's also a good question. So I was in a CEO group, and I was thinking about, first of all, it's really hard to maintain a franchise. I don't know if any of your audience there is a franchisor, but it's really, you always have to really be justifying yourself. And not that I didn't appreciate the support, but the franchisees little by little left, and pretty much I was the only one left. And the owner came to me and said, well, you can buy me out. And, I brought that to my CEO group that I was in, and they said, well, Ken, you're the brand, and they all encouraged me to really just branch off and start my own brand. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Franchising is hard. I have a friend who has a franchise, and he got all the way up to 18 franchisees. And then his fulfillment came into question. And it was really hairy. I mean, you just had to have the come to Jesus with your franchisees, and and it's a lot of work. A lot of people. It's funny when I watch people say, "Well, I'm gonna build this business and then I'm gonna franchise it." I'm just like, why don't you just build the business first? Because franchising's a whole nother that's a whole nother headache. I mean, franchising I equate to as much work as an IPO. Right.
Yeah.
You have to have pretty much the same, not the same, but you have to have a lot of the same monikers of success to franchise as you would an IPO. And you have the disclosures of pretty much an IPO. Like, you have to sit there and open the books. And then for every person who signs up as a franchisee is now open to being questioned by a new franchise franchisee prospect, right? And so, yeah. Now, because they were kind of on the out, you were able to keep a lot of your own clients then that you had already built up for 7 years. So did you have to start from zero, or did you have a non-compete that you had to deal with, or how did that work?
No, he was pretty good about it.
Good.
And yeah, there was, so no, it was not difficult.
That's
And,
awesome.
I don't really compete with him because he's in Louisville, Kentucky. And actually, to be honest with you, he was off doing other things like recruiting and consulting work. And so he wasn't really, even if I was in his area, wouldn't really have been competing with him that much.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it just so how many franchisees were there when you bought into the franchise?
About 10 or 12.
Oh, sorry. So it was a young franchise as well then. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it dwindled down to just you and the founder.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've never heard a story like that. It is. And that's, yeah. So it's like he was looking to cash out right at the last minute. Hey, why don't you just buy me out? He's trying to
But
get
I'm like, what
last
am I
little bit of
buying?
cash for you. And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So now you're, this is 10 years ago now, right? So
Yeah.
just about, right?
That's right. It was 10 years ago.
So with that transition, what was the biggest difference that you saw coming from the franchise model to being a solopreneur?
Well, it was great because it forced me to really, I had to develop the brand. So really, first and foremost, I had to think more about what am I all about? What is my business all about? And the second thing that happened is I had to go out and develop my own material. And, so there's similarities there, but, I couldn't just plug and play. I had to, and so there were things that I developed that I had sort of halfway done really, but I had to really develop them so they were, ready to implement. So there's material that came out of it, and it really, a lot of sales training businesses, I think, are more in sales process and qualifying and closing. And, so I put in a lot more into the lead generation, marketing and prospecting, and really beefed up the programming there. So, in developing all of that material, I really got the foundation for, I have a book that I'm getting ready to publish. So,
congratulations.
yeah. And so that'll, rather than the binder that I send and all the material that I send for them to put in the binder, and now I'll have just one published book that I can use. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, if there's one piece of advice I'll give you is get yourself on a podcast circuit, right? Before you launch that book and start pre-selling it as soon as you can. Are you self-publishing or are you going through a publisher?
Yes, I am. I have a woman that I hired in the UK. She's doing the editing. So we're about, maybe 79 to 80% done with the editing, and then she's going to help publish it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. It is one of the most exciting, and you will find this out later, that afterwards, after you publish it, it's exciting to have the afterglow is very short, and it becomes just another tool that you will use on a regular basis. And if you don't use the tool, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't sell itself.
Yeah. No, I have to use the tool because it's going to be the basis for what I do.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. That's kind of like my I have a book called The Rule of 26, and that's market as a website marketing strategy. And it just got endorsed by Mike McAllowitz, who wrote Profit First and Pumpkin Plan and stuff like that. So so that just actually happened not too long ago. So I've been really excited about it's another surgeon. I actually published that in 2021, so 2 years ago. And so this is kind of giving it new life.
I'm sorry. Somebody just mentioned that book, Profit First, to me. I can't remember who it was. I was just out training a client out in Wisconsin, and I think it was somebody there. Yeah, I just wrote that down. And yours I can get on Amazon.
Yeah, Rule 26,
Okay.
you get paperback, or you can get it on Kindle.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
go get it.
Yes. I always
Nice.
tell my clients, it's like, buy Kindles. And they're like, why? I like the book. It's like, but you don't write notes in your book. Well, I do write notes in my book, but you can't find the notes. But in a Kindle, you can type in your notes as you're reading. And then later on, you just have to look through your notes that are now at the front, and you can click on the note and it'll take you to the page. So it's a lot
Mm,
really nice for with these types of books where you're taking in, like ours is strategy and tactics. So there's gonna be a lot. I was on a podcast one time and the guy took 11 pages of notes reading through my 115 page book. That means he wrote a page of notes for about every 10 pages of reading. That's how dense it is. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so, yeah. So anyway, that's another tip for the listeners there. Get Kindles. And then if you love the book, like I do have hardcovers here. I usually will reach out to the author, or I'll run into an author and I'll be like, hey, I loved your book. Can I get a signed copy of it? And so I'll get signed copies. But yes. So
Nice.
when you saw your rep, you saw, I mean, everybody knows when you're in a franchise, you got to pay the franchisor, right? You got,
Right.
there's a
Yeah.
they skim off the top, and there's a bunch of fees and stuff like that for management and all that good stuff, marketing, dot dot dot. So did you find it an immediate increase in your profitability, or was there a lull that you had to then overcome? How did it financially affect you when you made the transition from a franchisee to a solopreneur?
I don't think there was really any impact at all because it was just business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
I brought in a new client. It's just I had a new format, a new
Mm-hmm.
outline, a new, series, but a lot of the things were similar,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I went to market was basically the same. So
Gotcha.
wasn't a whole lot of change there, because it wasn't like I was really getting a lot of leads from the franchise. I was really developing my own business anyway. So
Right. Well, I think that
um,
it's important for people to hear that, because a lot of people think, oh, I'll just get in a franchise and, the franchise will bring me a lot of business. And unless it is a very well known brand name, right? Like a Window Depot, McDonald's, I'm trying to think of other than fast food. I'm trying to think of and Windows by Anderson or something like that, right? Like Serve Pros and whatnot. If you don't have that name recognition, the franchise is really just the system to work under, which is great because it shortcuts, figuring out all the things. I mean, I started my business by myself, knew nothing about running a production house, and I made stuff up for 13 years.
yeah, well, that's how it works, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're not learning, you're not growing, right?
Right,
So
right.
and it never goes the way you expect,
No.
right? And it's funny because I thought, oh well, this is great. Well, first of all, I want to say that I don't regret the franchise experience at all, and it
Right.
was exactly what I wanted because
Hmm.
I'm a salesperson. I always been a salesperson. I didn't want to create something. I wanted to have something to immediately go to market,
Hmm.
and it gave me other. We would get together 2-3 times a year,
Hmm.
all in one place, and we would innovate and talk about what was working and what wasn't working. So it was a very worthwhile experience. So I had all the material already done, and I had a go to market strategy that was proven. So that's
Nice.
why I bought it,
Hmm.
and so really very worthwhile. And it it, uh, so now with my own business, it really helped me. And I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this thing going, which I did. Then I'm going to go get two people that can do exactly what I'm doing. Now I have a franchise that's worth something, and I have, other people, and so I could sell the business to one of them, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody else would want to buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I quickly found out that, in an environment like that, creating mini me's is really difficult. And
Very tough.
so I got two people in, and then one became a pretty good trainer, and the other one became a decent salesperson, but they couldn't do the other thing.
Right.
And so, they were with me for a long time, maybe a year and a half each of them. But now I learned, right? So now I
Right.
have a salesperson and I have two trainers,
Nice.
and that works great
Yeah.
because, they don't want to do the other thing anyway.
Right.
Hey?
Well, I think that you bring up a really good point about, being an entrepreneur, being a visionary, specifically, is that, we are a breed of our own, and duplicating a true entrepreneur is impossible. I mean, even two entrepreneurs side by side are different, very, very different. And you couldn't, it was Rand Fisher. He was talking about the fact he was the founder of Moz.com, a SEO company. And he swapped with another CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. And they literally took over each other's lives, trading places, basically.
Wow.
And it was, he, in his recollection of the whole experience, it was just like stepping into somebody else's life was jarring, right? Because they don't do things the same. And number two, the skill sets were different, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I could have figured it out over time, but like, yeah, this was a huge learning curve, and that really opened up his eyes that, like, hey, listen, no two businesses are the same, because no two entrepreneurs are the same, right? Just like two. And so when I'm building out my business, I'm always like, I look at it and go, hey, I need integrators, but I need fulfillment people as well, because even my integrator is not going to have all of the skill sets that I might have garnered over the last 30 years of being in marketing. Right. And so, yeah, like you said, it's like, it takes two other people to do the two things you can do without blinking, which is amazing. Right. And they'll never do it as either of those as well as you.
Right. And it's not so much that I could do twice as much. That's
Right.
not the point. The point is that I can't be doing all of that, because if I am, they should do twice as much as me of each one that they're doing.
Right.
That's the idea. Right.
Right.
And that's the only way we scale, because otherwise I'm limiting everything.
Exactly. The bottleneck. That's great. No, you're talking like a true entrepreneur, which is awesome to hear. What would you say in the last 10 years was your biggest challenge?
In the last year?
Oh, last 5 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, does everybody remember 2008? And there was this pandemic that sort of happened, and I guess that's probably it. I mean,
right. How did you guys fare through COVID?
We came out 25% behind the previous year, and but it most of it was because everything we were doing got pushed. And so it didn't come back till August or September. But so now you only got, like, 1/3 of a year to make up for the
ouch.
And the other thing that happened was the stuff that we were getting was smaller, fewer people. And but we were my girlfriend and I were on vacation in Mexico, and we're just hanging out in this all-inclusive place, and we're just, and she's looking at her phone. She goes, hey, there's something happening in Boston, some kind of, something's going on. Who cares? Get me another drink, and I'm reading my book, and then, so then we're lucky to get back, because it was like the second week in March, and we had 4 programs going at the time, and they all went down to 1, I think. Went down to 1 because everybody's like, and so, like I said, gradually they came back, and then we were building them up, but we were getting smaller opportunities. Yeah. So I think I was fortunate just to be coming in 25% behind.
That's That's well, at least you didn't have to close the doors, which was great. Survived it, which is awesome. So now what we're gonna wrap this up today with my favorite question, which is what would you tell yourself with what you know now? What would you tell yourself of 10 years ago?
10 years. So that's 2013. I say, well,
That's right.
you
It's
know
right
what?
in your transition, right? What would
Yeah.
you tell them with
Okay.
what you know now?
Well, we got through that recession. We learned a lot from that, like where the opportunities are, right? And
Yeah.
how to help people. By the way, you know what? There's going to be a pandemic coming in 7 years. So be thinking about where the opportunities are, right? Because there's some, I had clients that it was a windfall for them,
Right.
janitorial service company.
Oh
And,
my gosh.
yes. I had landed that deal before the COVID happened, but, hey, and it's not like I say, okay, we want to profit from this, terrible, thing going on, but
There was a need.
But, the word pivot became part of everybody's vocabulary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, the type of things that we do is we help people to really keep focused on where your best opportunities are. It's not necessarily what you did 5 years ago or 3 years ago. Where are your opportunities based on what's happening in your marketplace and in your target's marketplace? And so, if I knew that in advance, we would be able to say, hey, this is there's some opportunities, so let's go figure out how to solve them. And we always want to be doing that.
Awesome.
We have our heads down all the time in
Right.
this opportunities.
Now there you go. I want to thank you so much for your time today, Ken, and I hope you the best and ongoing success. And for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us. Make sure that you subscribe and like the show. And until next time, stay extraordinary.